so that we get a better overview. And in Haifa also not everybody could join, so that would be nice. So don't make it too long. I mean, it's like 30 seconds per person, more or less, if we are 30 to introduce ourselves. Afterwards, I would like to have a short look again to the task and deliverables we had in the working group, much shorter than we did in Haifa and in our other meetings, but just to introduce those who haven't been familiar. And what I think should take most of the time is actually the poster book. That is the research posters that have been collected. And then I think Ahmed, Luisa, and Olga will present the current status. And afterwards, Müge will report on the policies we have been collecting so far. And then I also asked Müge, because she was representing together with, I think, Ahmed and some others on the template we saw, but we saw already an introduction this morning and on the current template, but nevertheless, it might be good for those who just joined now. And then we hopefully have time for a short discussion on next steps and what to do. If we don't finish today, we will still have time tomorrow to have some discussion. And also later in the roundtable, I think. So that means I have collected, that is the last in alphabetical order, that is the names of people in this working group. And maybe because I cannot see everybody now on my screen, I will just maybe go through this list alphabetically, and then if you are there, just unmute and say hello and present yourself. I just see 8 people now on my screen. So there should be Agnieszka. Are you there? No. I know Ahmed is there. Ahmed, you should present yourself. Is he listening? Ahmed? You're muted. You're muted. Please unmute.
Oh.
No.
Yeah. No, he's back. Oh.
Sorry.
Again, please unmute.
Here. I don't know why.
Yes, now we hear you. Now we hear you.
Oh, you hear me? Yeah, sorry. I was with Rui at the at the other session. Sorry. We are making the roundtable. It's that I'm Ahmed Ben Bernou, and I'm an architect, urbanist, and I'm specialized in programming. And I'm also a PhD student at the University of Paris-Nanterre. And I'm attached to the CRH, which is the research center in housing. My thesis subject focuses on the plan of economic and social development of Algeria in 1958, which is called the Plan of Constantine. And throughout this topic, I try to understand why and how housing was used as an important tool for social and economic advancement, and why and how the mass housing was chosen as the model of this social housing for the middle class and the poorest, and all to create an integration between the two populations that composed the Algeria at this time.
Okay, and next to that, you are also very active in the COST action in general, and in the working group group 3. Yeah. But we will see that later. Thank you, Ahmed.
Thank you so much.
The poster book presentation.
And if it's interesting, I'm also I co-manage the science communication. And if you have some information to share regarding the topic of MCMH with all the members, don't hesitate to contact me for sharing.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Ahmed. And thank you. So let's see. I think Anna, you want to present yourself again?
Yes, I'm Anna Bank. I'm the chair of this COST Action. I'm a professor at University of Lisbon. And of course, for me, this working group is very important because I would like to understand how the policies associated to the middle class housing were able to shape the modern city and our contemporary city. So I'm here just for listening all the contributions, and thank you all for being here today and for all your contributions for the COST.
Okay, yes, thank you, Anna. So I don't know if Arthur is there. No. Okay, then I think Byron, I think I saw, yes.
Yes, good evening. I'm Baron Ioannou from Frederick University, Cyprus. I teach planning and urban design, and I coordinate the Urban Planning Lab, and we are dealing with planning policies and affordable housing at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Byron. Carmen Enz? Ich glaube nicht. I don't think so. I speak German now. Okay. Carmen is not here. Then Dina, are you there? No, also not. Then I think Federico.
Hi, hello. My name is Federico Zanzi. I'm an architect by education. I teach urban planning at Politecnico di Milano, and together with my colleague Laura Daglio, who's not here, who teaches architecture technology, we work on the issue of redevelopment of middle-class housing in Italy, with a specific attention to the specific context of the country and also the features concerning real estate markets and social demand. We jumped on the issue first with Gaia Caramellino, Filippo De Pieri, and other colleagues involved in a project dedicated to middle-class housing built in Italy from 50s to 90s, and since then we have worked on that. So tomorrow we will show you something from this long period of exercises and research.
Yeah, thank you, Federico. I'm not sure if Gaia is there.
Yeah, well, I will not introduce again. I already introduced in the first working groups. I'm Gaia Caramellino. I'm an assistant professor in architectural history at Politecnico di Milano, the same department of Federico. And I vice chair the vice chair of the action, and I'm not involved in the working group 3. I'm participating to the work of working group 1 and 2, but I'm extremely interested in the work that you are conducting in the frame of the working group. As Federico said, my interest for middle class housing started a long time ago in 2010 when we started this research project with Filippo De Pieri, Federico Zanzi, and other colleagues on middle class housing in Italy during the year of the economic miracle. And now with Filippo De Pieri, I'm more focusing on methodological aspects related to the study of middle class housing in Italy, but not only. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Gaia. I think Giuseppe, I didn't see. Giuseppe Resta. No. Then Janice, I'm not sure if she's here. I think I didn't see her. No. Then Juliana Martins. No. Kadri, I think I didn't see neither. Then Laura, also not here. Federico just mentioned. We will see her tomorrow. Luisa, I think Luisa is here.
Hi. Yes. Hi to everyone. I'm Luisa Asmerallo Perrotta. I'm from Italia, and I'm assistant researcher at the University of Salerno, and I'm also involved in the teaching at the same university. My approach and my interest in the middle class mass housing is relating to the relationship between these case studies and the contemporary cities. And of course, the main part of my interest is about the policies and also the national and international program about their conservation or maybe their transformation. And that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And maybe we can make the introduction a little bit faster because we already spent 15 minutes and I would like to have some, so maybe just present you very shortly. I think next is Magdalena.
Yeah, hello. I'm a lawyer and economist and I deal with housing policy. I work at University of Łódź in Poland.
Okay, thank you, Magdalena. Marcel.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm working at OWL University in Detmold in Germany, and I'm an urban planner and researcher, PhD student at TU Delft, and I'm working on quality of life, behavior, health and well-being, and its relations to the built environment.
Yeah, thank you, Marcel. Thanks, Marcel. And Maren.
Yeah, hi, I'm Maren. I'm a professor for urban design at Frankfurt University of Applied Sciences. I've been researching large-scale stuff, including housing and buildings, for all my academic life, and I'm running the post-war housing research lab at our institution.
Yes, great, thank you. Maria, is she here?
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Marija Milinkovic. I'm teaching at the University of Belgrade at the Faculty of Architecture. I finished PhD in the field of history and theory of architecture with focus on critical thinking pursued through architectural practice. I'm interested in all three working groups, but until now could not manage to connect all these groups, hopefully in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. I think Murushka, you are there?
Yes.
Yes.
My name is Murushka Schwitzkovach. I am a professor at the University of Ljubljana, Faculty of Civil Engineering and Geodesy, Slovenia. I'm civil engineer. I have master's science degree in the field of housing and PhD in the field of real estate valuation. And my fields of research are real estate, spatial planning, and housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Murushka. And I think Matas is the next.
Hello. My name is Matas Cirtautas. I'm associated professor at Department of Urban Design at Vilnius Tech in Lithuania. And my primary research include broad issues of planning and transformation in post-Soviet cities, especially Baltic cities. And currently I'm also interested in GIS and parametric planning techniques and adoption of these techniques in spatial transformation of mass housing estates. Thanks.
Thank you, Matas. Melda, are you there?
Hi. Sorry, my camera is not working. My name is Melda. I'm from Turkey. I'm landscape architect and urban designer. I'm working in a university in the Department of City and Regional Planning. My research mainly focused on the livability of housing areas. Generally, I focused on housing areas with different spatial and social characteristics. For example, residents' quality of life. Also developing some livability criteria for the housing areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Melda. And I see Melinda is here.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Melinda Bank from Budapest. I'm architect and associate professor at the Faculty of Architecture of the Technical University of Budapest. And I teach mainly urban design, and I have several doctoral students with mass housing topic as well. And my research focus, this is the relationship between the urban form and space usage. So thanks.
Thank you, Melinda. Then Müge, you are next.
Oh, hello, everybody. My name is Müge Akkararcan. I'm from Ankara, from Turkey. I'm trained as a city planner. I'm professor in the Department of City and Regional Planning at Middle East Technical University. I'm coordinator of urban design graduate program. My research focus on urban design, urban regeneration, and sustainability. Thank you.
Thanks, Müge. Nieves, but I think Nieves is not here. Then Olga, I saw you.
Hello, my name is Olga. I'm from Moldova. I'm an architect and I'm working in an architectural firm based in Chisinau, the capital of Moldova. I also a PhD. Last year I defended my thesis. I'm interested in everything because as a young researcher, I'm open to new provocation or so on something new.
Great. Thank you, Olga. We will hear you later. Patricia, I didn't see you. I think she's not here. And I think Paz is also not here, right? Paz? Roberto? No, also not. I think Sandra also not, right? And then we have Sandra Marquez Pereira isn't here, but I think Sandra Treya is here.
Hello, everybody. I'm a professor in Riga Technical University, Faculty of Architecture, and my background is architecture. And my research is more focused to urban regeneration. Now we are going to seek some visions for digital tools in urban regeneration, but mostly for large housing estates and as well as historical city centers.
Okay, Sandra, thank you. Sonia, I didn't see. Sonia? No? Well, then it's me. I make it very short. Uta Potkisa. I'm a chair of heritage and technology at TU Delft, and I have some PhD students who are also among us, which are working on housing. And maybe I'm also representing Docomomo, Germany, and international. And in that sense, I'm very much interested in the whole, let's say, modern heritage discussion and policies, in particular for transformation and conservation, and how to reshape them. I think that's the main goal also of our working group in the end. Yeah, let's continue. We will have more time. Wilte. I think she's not here, right? I see Rachel, you are raising the hand, but maybe let's first do the members of the group, and then I will ask additional potential members. I think Yael, you are the next.
Okay, so I'm Yael Alvail. I'm associate professor at the Faculty of Architecture at Technion. I chair the housing lab over there, and within the scope of Working Group 3, my interest is primarily in the way that architecture design plays within the production of mass housing, and in design methods for housing as a design problem, in terms of history and in terms of the contemporary rearticulations of these methods. Within Balben, a chair who's not here today, we chair Docomomo Israel. So the heritage of housing, of modern housing, is really the basis, I think, for considering these design methods. So,
yes, thank you, Yael, and also on behalf of Inbal. Then we have, but I didn't see them. Aurore, are you here? And Clara? No, they are not here. Then Rachel, you were raising your hand. Or are there any? Yes.
You were in the middle of saying something. You were saying something, Uta.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
You were saying something. Would you like me to introduce myself?
Yes, I wanted to ask. There are several other peoples. Is there? I would like to ask if there is somebody who wants to join the working group 3. I know some of you are from working group 1 and others are from working group 2. But are there further people who would like to join the working group 3?
Yeah. Hi, Uta.
Yes, Anitza. Yeah, yeah.
So I'm here, so I don't know if I should also introduce myself. And yeah, I would like to join the group 3. Yeah, so hello everyone. My name is Anitza Dragudinovic, and I'm a PhD candidate at TU Delft with Uta as my supervisor, and working on the topic of New Belgrade, which we heard about this morning. And actually, I'm representing Germany as I live and work here in Germany. Yes, and thank you all very much. Yeah.
Okay, we will adopt you in working group 3. That's right. Is there anybody else who wants to join?
Yes, I do.
Rachel. Okay, yeah. I think you also wrote it by email. But then we will officially also put you in the group. And tomorrow we will hear a presentation of your PhD student Nuriel in the morning, right?
Yes, Nuriel and I will be presenting.
Yes, you will be.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm MC substitute member. I missed the Haifa meeting, even though the Technion is my home ground. My area, I had the lab on comparative planning and law, and my angle on housing, always comparative international. My angle is various types of tenure, property rights, and housing. And right now we're researching condominium housing in several contexts, context of towers, and what we'll be presenting tomorrow, context of urban regeneration of de facto middle income mass housing. So I'm on board work, and I would like my PhD student Nuriel to join. I think he has already. And also a postdoc who was here before, and I'll let you know the name.
Yeah, okay. So then we still have, thank you, Rachel, you're welcome. And then Nuriel, you are also here? Hello?
He probably had to leave.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Oh, he's here. Okay, there is Nuriel.
Yes, hello.
So
Just introduce yourself, Nuriel.
Hi, I didn't see you. I tried to fix it. Sorry. Okay. My name is Nuriel. I'm a PhD student at the Technion in Israel. Professor Rachel Alterman, she's my my mentor, my everything in this area. And I'm writing about urban regeneration, and especially the situation of condominiums and the lock-in at the situation of urban regeneration in condominium, the problems with this procedure and everything, and we try to do a job that I hope will contribute to the knowledge in this area.
Okay, I should add, I have to agree that Nuriel is a practicing lawyer in real estate.
Okay, so that's interesting. That connects nicely to the lecture we heard this morning, so, I guess. So thank you both. I would like, I think, did I forget anybody who wants still to join? As far as I see, not. Thank you. So then welcome the new members in working group 3. We still have some work ahead. I think you will hear later what we still have to do. And I will just, not to lose too much time, just go very quickly through these slides of the tasks. I mean, you can read that in the Memorandum of Understanding, of course, but we always repeat it every time so that everybody is aware of what the goals are. And the most important, I think, is assembling and selecting and mapping existing data. We will hear about that with the poster book just later. We will also, and public policies, so that there we will have another 2 presentations. And I think the most important aspect is the repurposing of existing planning and public policies, so which is the final goal after collecting and analyzing all the data. And we should also see that we have a kind of addition to that sentence, which means with a special attention to the ITC countries. So we should keep that also in mind. And then, well, the rest, I think the workshops and the STSM, this is things that count for every group. We will discuss that later, but I want to save some time to come to our main 2 aspects, collecting the data and collecting the policies. At least we try to work quite regularly. We did that in the last year when we all started Zooming, and hopefully we will continue it in smaller groups also after this meeting. Yeah, that's, I think we will leave this, and I think the next presentation that we will have, let me go back to my agenda to see whether I'm still right. Yeah, that was the very short presentation of the deliverables, and I would like to hand over to Ahmed, Luisa, and Olga, who were in charge of collecting existing research and work, and maybe next to that also some data that relate to policies. So you want to present the poster book? I will stop sharing, and I hope you can share your screens if you like. Is it? Yeah, Ahmed can for sure, right? You are a host of everything here.
I will share first. I will start the presentation first. What happened?
If not, I can also share, Ahmed, because I've received
I tried
the presentation.
to share, but I don't know. Luisa, could you share, because I don't know what's the program.
Yes, I can.
Please, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I have to say that Luisa, Olga, and Ahmed were very, very busy in collecting the posters. Many of you have contributed. I think we received 62 in the end. And now this is, I think, where we are today with the collection and analyzing of the data. Yes, please.
Thank you. We are working with Olga and Luisa as a member of the subgroup of the Responsibility 8 with the task of mapping research under the very good supervision of Professor Uta and Professor Moog, and I want to thank everyone for this good collaboration at first. We launched 2 calls for participation of research posters, production for poster production, for presenting our various works. It was for us an occasion to share and disseminate our research, which is collective or individual, and our interest related with the topic of middle class and mass housing. And we would like also to thank all the members for their participation at these calls. After the first call, we decided to improve the collection by adding a survey call with general questions. The idea was to ask directly some fundamental information, not so easy to understand throughout the posters. Sorry. We organized the poster collection in a booklet that we sent you in last November for correction, and we will send it to you again for a last proofreading before the publication. The booklet contains short information of our action aim, a summary information of each working groups, and analysis that we made from the posters received, and all the poster with some conclusion about the collection. And today we want to present you some of this conclusion and some of this analysis. You can go to the next slide. Yes, and for our analysis, For our analysis, we started with some general information about our network. Firstly, we considered that was important to visualize how many we are and where we came from through a map that we made here. Our network is made of 110 participants from 33 countries. And in this map, we underlighted the location of the countries and institutions of the COST members. And according to the COST policies, we divided all the countries into 3 categories: inclusiveness target countries, excellence target countries, and international partner countries in pink, and the first in green and blue, sorry. And that compose our action. And this affirmation has no impact on the quality of the research carried out by each members. It's just to feed the statistic of the COST association which finances our action. And for the next slide, we have in the next slide we have a mosaic on the left, where we can see an overlook of the wall posters collection that we received. There are 61 posters from 27 countries. And instead, the diagram on the right shows the number of posters and their origin, with the indication of the countries and institutions where the posters came from. We can see that Italy and Serbia were particularly very active in the open call, as you can show. And and thank you for them. We can say that we have a particularly good representation of all the groups of countries that make up our COST action. After that, we try to visualize in a map. In the next slide, please. Yes, thank you. We tried to visualize in this map the MCMH research area in the world. We drew this map with the new geography defined by the research poster contents. The map showing the global location of the study area. And we found that 39% of researchers who participate to our action work on an international areas outside of their home countries. And regarding the posters collected, we found out that 90% of not yet, yeah, thank you. That 90% of the research received have their research in Europe. Not the first. No, we are. Sorry, Luisa. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. We have 90% of research which are in Europe, 18% in Asia, 6% in Africa, and less than 2% in South America. And after we pass at the second level, where we're going in a deeper level with the next map. Sorry. Thank you. In a deeper level of analysis, where we draw 2 different maps showing the location of the study area. This is the first, and it shows which countries are involved in our research. And it's not it's the countries not involved. It's sorry. It's the area, the countries as an area of research, and we have 33 posters which work on a country and not only on town. And after we have a second map. With the second map shows the town involved in a study area in our research, and we have here from the poster that we received 54 towns as a research area. And you can pass Olga. You can.
Yeah, Lisa, please move. So we try somehow to find a method, a way of work, how we can. Oh my God, Lisa, what happened?
I'm sorry.
You did something.
I'm really sorry, but no, no, maybe
it's not your fault. It's the problem of.
Okay, probably it's the problem.
I don't know how can I.
Yeah,
I can do it for sure. Okay.
So
it's better.
No. You did somehow. It was moved the text from the circle.
Yes, I didn't. I just opened it. It's something because for the different, maybe the different program. So
you think
this is my. Do you want to share your PPT? It's the same, but
I think it's
with the right position.
Yeah.
If you prefer, you can share your
No,
screen.
I think it's problem with I don't know.
It's a problem of the program. It's only program.
I think we can imagine. I mean, the text is a little bit
Yes,
run
you
out
can
of
continue.
the design, but I think it's okay to explain it.
But okay, it's not opening.
But Olga, you can explain it here, I think. I mean,
you can
anyway,
continue here. Yes.
I will explain here because I tried to open in my Okay, so we try somehow to find a way of analysis, a methodology from how we can take some results from that poster. So first of all, we read all the posters carefully and find out that we have different posters which were conducted in different frameworks. For example, we have research projects which are as founded projects, also as national, international projects, and so on. We have PhD research, we have postdoc research, we have research made in the program of master, and we have practice-related research. So from all the posters, we collected the keywords, which you can see in the circle, in the big circle. From these keywords, we tried and we defined 5 research areas, research approach. The first one is historical approach, architectural and technical approach, social and anthropological approach, sustainability related approach, economic and political approach. Luisa, you can move. Luisa?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we made a diagram in the form of coordinate system in order to visualize the gathered information from the posters. So in this diagram, on the axis X, we add the research areas, the research approach. On the Y, we put the research framework. The number of the posters and the source, I mean the country from where the posters come from, we add on this diagram in order to receive our conclusion. In this diagram, we also show the interconnection between the research approaches. So yeah, Lisa, you can move. So we made few diagrams, conclusive diagrams, which first one reflect the research framework and research approach. We found out that 46% are the research projects, which, as I mentioned, they are funded projects or national projects and so on. And also we found out that the most research area is covering 3 areas, and the main is architectural and technical approach, the second one is historical approach, and the third one is social anthropological approach. The last is economic and political approach. Also from the poster, we found out that we have 90% of academic research, only 3% of non-academic research, and 7% of office and film research. Also, we find the level of the research according to the poster content and the keywords. And the main part of the poster shows their research in the international, national or regional debate. Another concentrated part of the posters deals with the cities, neighborhoods, and residential complex level. And only few posters are connected with residential blocks and dwellings or apartments. Luisa?
Yes, thanks. We used the main diagram about the research framework and the research approach with the different color to analyze other topics. Through a more deeply analysis, we did a categorization according to the research motivations. So we have 4 categories: tool methodologies that include research that aims to develop a tool methods to examine any theme or case on middle-class mass housing. Design-based solution that include research with aims to study in deep the design of middle-class mass housing and to develop design-based solution. Case-based solution that include the research with aims to use one or more cases to develop a new innovative framework on middle-class mass housing. And theme-based research that include the research with aims to focus on a theme and investigate the theme through cases and policies. We find out that the main part of the posters focused on case-based solution, and almost equal percentages of researches based on the other 3 motivations. These other diagrams shows the typology of a research organization. The colors of the circles represent how the researchers are involved in the research poster. The pink point out individual research posters, while the violet are from a group of researchers. The main part of the posters collection is represented by a group of researchers. Instead, the individual researches is a third of the total number. This diagram shows the time span of each poster's research. The color of the circle represents if the research is finished or ongoing. The blue point out to finish the research, while the light blue circles ongoing research. The main part of the research posters presenting the ongoing research. This diagram shows the relationship between the posters and the author's participation in each working group. So that analysis underline that there are so many interconnections between the posters, and some posters work across all the action. And maybe I don't have the last one. It was if I can have a time to show it. The last one was a cloud that show all the program mentioned in the poster and connecting with the other national and international program involved in our researches. And that's all. We want to finish our presentation. Say again thank you to everyone for the participation. And it was a great opportunity for us as a young researcher to read your work and have a great overlook of all our network research. We want to say especially thanks to Ms. Suta and Ms. Muga for their their continuous interest and support and the suggestion and the time and the meeting all Zoom. So we are glad to have feedback and observation for all of you if we have the time in order to improve our analysis and make it richer. So that's all. Thank you to everyone.
So thank you, Ahmed, Luisa, and Olga. I want to maybe to share some general comments before we open the floor for further comments to everybody, because you can imagine we had a lot of discussion within the group and the diagrams also changed very often. And we have to say, I mean, there is maybe in terms of a methodological approach, we have the issue that we kept our request for posters quite open. We said, oh, you can write about individual or about group research, or you can just present your research group instead of a project. So that means the diversity of the posters is quite big. We didn't make it, let's say, maybe it might have been better if we would have made it very strict, like report about just a project or report about your PhD. So in this sense, the posters are not always very comparable, and some of them present several projects, some of them present different researchers, some of them just present one very specific case. In that sense, I think the analysis took a lot of time because they really had to look into all the posters to identify the things between the lines. But of course, it also means that maybe the analysis is not a real statistical, I mean, you know, it's rather a qualitative analysis, and we have some statistical data in terms of percentage. But I wouldn't overestimate it, but rather see the qualitative aspects and the content we learned about it. And maybe just to say, why were we doing that? What is our goal? I think what we saw very nicely in the diagram where we talked about what is the approach, you know, historical, architectural, economic one, we could see very nicely that, and that is what Jankel mentioned this morning when we talked about the European Housing Research Network, when he said they are mainly focusing on economic research, while our group is really very much has a background in architecture and architecture history, and I think these are things that become obvious, and so the analysis may help us to connect maybe to other groups that do other kind of research. It identifies maybe some strengths that we have, but also maybe some gaps and potentials that we could develop within our work. So maybe that just to say generally to the analysis before we go more into detail. And maybe one second comment. This is not the final layout. We still hope, but we have to discuss that in the core group and on the finances, that maybe we could have a graphic design support, so to do a layout for the book. So this is the layout that was made with PowerPoint posters and in PowerPoint by us, but we still hope that we can have a more professional and corporate layout for the final publication. So now I will stop saying anything. So are there any comments or questions from your side to the group? Nobody? Good. Okay. Anyway, what also I think Luisa or Ahmed, I'm not sure, mentioned, we will send you back, of course, this draft layout, the manuscript, so that you can double check if we draw the right conclusions from your poster, or if you feel this is not the correct way of interpreting your poster. So before it will be printed, you have a chance to make corrections, and we can then adapt it, further.
I have one question, Uta.
Yeah.
Is it you will have ISBN number online, or just clear ISBN number? Just for publication.
Yeah, we want. Yeah. No, the idea is to publish it open access. So with an ISBN we have to see, but for sure a DOE, so a number. And the idea is to publish it open access, for example, with TU Delft open access, or we have to see any other publishing authority. I don't know if the COST Action will maybe have, I mean, we have to publish open access anyway, because that is what the COST also asked us to do. And yeah, so it will be online, an online publication. I don't know if we have money maybe to print, if we will ever see again in real life, that could be an idea to make a printed version, to distribute it. But at the moment, I think we just go for open access online publication. Ines was...
Can I say something, just very briefly?
Yes. Yeah, Ines, then Alexandra.
No, I'm not from your working group, but I wait my time just to say that you have done amazing work, and I think it's very important just to do this approach. It's very important, or could be very interesting, overlapping the mappings of the case studies and what you do, because what is behind your map is the areas of studying on MCMH, on middle class mass housing, of each research. So I think it's one of the most goals of everybody is connecting the network. And so if I want to publish an article about Portugal and Italy, I have to go through who is working on the Italian cases, for instance, and where they are. So it will be easier if we can overlapping the two mappings. I don't know what will happen, but maybe it could be interesting and more easier to find the relationship between the case studies of our action and the research behind. But the most important thing that I want to say that you did amazing work.
Thank you, Ines. Alexandra.
Yes, thank you. I'm also, I apologize, I'm also not the group, but I wanted to participate also if unfortunately it was not too much from the beginning for a call I received. I'm very sorry, but what I want to say is that I think you're doing a very important work that I think can be of example also for what will be the atlas from the single case study of the template, because it is exactly the starting to build a thread of connections among issues that you were doing. I think is exactly, I think, into this direction. What I feel that also is now essential is to create a work of going back and forth in a sense, because otherwise can be the risk that, because what I think happened was that we all started in a sense with the sort of with the public, with the research, with the work that we already had, that was not planned exactly for the course. So it's a random in a sense. No, this is a very interesting. Like what put us together now. No? And what can be to get seen as a link among people. And it's very fascinating. Meantime, we also have to reflect on the way back, saying, okay, but now what is needed, what is missing, what could be implemented. And this is the help for everyone to implement for each group, for the case studies, in order to understand from the random something that is more structured and defined for the future. But I think it's very interesting to start in this way, because it's the reality, no? It's what we are, what also links us. And I think you did it's very important, the visual work. And in fact, I also think that for the atlas of that would connect the template, I think that is this visualization of data that I see that is very strong now also all over I went a little bit in connection with these laboratories that, for example, are in Milan from the density design group that they do particularly visualization of data, or the very famous Carlo Ratti at the MIT, the super famous project that are behind, they have lots of money, you know, that run because they are privately run as well. But there, I think for the one in Milan, there are many also just on the academic side, or more just investigative, not only so important on the economic side. But I think they are very strong, and probably we can. There is a specificity of people working in this sense, and I'm seeing that as a very contemporary and very modern way to read in a visual way connections. I think it's very strong. So I want to thank you for this.
Thank you also, Alessandra. And if I maybe can just shortly add, what I also think is something we still have to do. So we still have to write an introduction and explain what we did, and also to draw some conclusions, like on what should we do more, how could we connect, where do we see similarities. So there will be a more in detailed analysis of that. Now we were grouping it somehow, but to follow up on those connections. And I think in particular what we should do, and this was very obvious already in the map, that we have a lot of ITC countries, which is, I think, a very good one, but that we also still have to make really a distinction, maybe in our analysis of what were the questions in the ITC countries. Are these the same questions that we have in Southern Europe? That was the discussion in the first meeting today, right? There were more cases in Southern Europe and less in Northern Europe. Now we have a lot in ITC countries and a lot in Southern Europe. And so we have a different kind of data. Maybe, Ines, we can still think how we can maybe also include this map that were built on the case studies somehow. And I don't know how to connect it, but at least to show it next to each other. That could be an idea. But we have to do this.
Huh? Me neither. I don't know it also. Yeah. But it's a work in progress. We are just trying to figure out.
Yeah, and what I would like to propose, because I think we are also a bit at the end of the time for this topic, but what I like to propose in one of the next meetings, and based on this analysis also maybe of gaps and strengths that we have, that we do a kind of matchmaking or blind date. I mean, something where we can match the different researchers within the group on behalf of certain topics, for example. A matchmaking to maybe write a joint paper, or to write a joint application for some research. So, and maybe we managed, we didn't have so much time, but we still have to do it in our conclusions to come up with some ideas, like there is still something to do, and maybe we can identify people out of our COST action to work on those topics. So this is a bit the idea. So also to create a kind of roadmap, maybe for side actions and themes for the workshop that we still have to do. Yeah. Okay. I think if you don't have any further comments, there was, okay, Marcel wrote something in the chat. Thank you, Marcel. And I think otherwise we would just go to the next topic, which is the policies, which is another important job of our working group. And I think, Müge, you want to present, right? If you want to share your screen, otherwise I also have the presentation. But if
I can share, no problem.
And thank you again to Olga, Luisa, and Ahmed. You were very really very, very continuously working the last year. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Yeah, you will see something, Müge.
All right, yes. Okay. Hello, everyone. I also thank Olga, Ahmet, and Luisa. It's been a pleasure to work with them. This poster book actually to me is a really good output so far from our group. And we also, I think we should also thank to all the contributors to this poster book. As for the responsibility tool, which is related to policies, middle class mass housing policies, this responsibility actually focuses on the existing planning and public policies on middle class mass housing in each participating country involved in this action. The aim is question the relationship between housing and residence quality of life with special attention to the ITC countries. Under the responsibility too, we conducted several meetings and we prepared two templates, one for bibliographic repository on middle class mass housing, and the second one is legislative repository on middle class mass housing. We templates and some examples with our group members, with our community, with working group 3 community, and we invite them to prepare bibliographic and legislative repositories on middle class mass housing according to their own country. And as you can see here, these are the templates filled. Currently, in the private space of our action, there are the bibliographic and legislative repository for 9 countries, which are Cyprus, Germany, Hungary, Italy, Lithuania, Poland, Slovenia, Spain, and Turkey. Thinking that within the framework of this action, there are 33 countries. We'd like to invite all, participants, countries members to fill these templates. First of all, this is very important for us to see, first of all, the public policies repository, to create this public policy repository for middle class mass housing according to countries. And there's a special order of giving information in this template. So it's now open if you would like to change, revise, add anything to these templates. We'd like to also invite all our members to revise their templates, which were already submitted. As you can see, all these repository works in the private space. You can visit these repositories. This is important because we have to make more progress and develop a much more sophisticated policy template according to each country's middle class policy. Ultimately, these post tables will help us to make comparative studies in the future. This is a part of the atlas also we want to achieve at the end of the COST action. So under the responsibility too, we ask the question of how to analyze middle class mass housing public policies of each country, how to document the middle class mass housing renewal strategies of each country, how to relate these middle class mass housing public policies and renewal strategies in relation to housing and residence quality of life, how to share recommendation for future studies, and how to reflect this knowledge to the ITC countries. to answer this question, actually, along with the meetings that we carried out, we decided that one way of mapping middle-class mass housing public policies could be an analysis and mapping according to each country's policies based on a historical or temporal perspective by using critical historic moments and the factors in the world, Europe, and in each country's context. At the world level, for example, World War II, United Nations policies like SDGs or climate change or neoliberal policies or globalization policies, that kind of policies could condition the middle class mass housing policies. They can impact on the shaping and forming the middle class mass housing policies. At the Europe level, EU's policies, the critical economic, political, social topics in its agenda, funding opportunities could affect the middle class mass housing policies. And at the national level, there might be many different economic, political, social factors which can impact on the middle class mass housing policies formation. So we thought it might be important to, to show such kind of very important factors at the world, Europe, and the nationwide level, how the policies have been affected. So there might be different laws that could be enacted in different periods according to each country. And so we can identify these laws, bylaws, regulations in a historic or temporal perspective, and we can identify different periods, historic periods. And as a first step, based on the existing literature, we can define middle-class mass housing policies according to what policies were developed, who was targeted, how inclusive the policy was, how these policies were implemented. We can answer these questions, and in the second step, which is the repurposing middle-class mass housing policies today, we can try to answer the questions of why new policies should be developed, how they should be developed, who should be targeted, how they should be inclusive, and how they should be implemented. And in these ways, first, it is possible to explain different middle-class mass housing policies according to each country in a temporal and historical perspective. This may allow us to reveal different middle-class mass housing public policy periods in relation to the different factors and context. Additionally, this may also help us to make comparative studies on the middle-class mass housing policies between different countries. We can compare middle-class mass housing policy approaches and solutions of different countries. We can identify differences and similarities between countries regarding the policies, problems, and solutions, and identify the global context and national context, how this context actually affect each countries similarly or differently. So ultimately we can, in a way, learn from each other. So this is the part which I want to share with you, what we've done so far together with our group. If you have any questions, anything, I can, we can try to, answer these questions. But if not, I can continue with the template too. However you like. Uta, would you like me to continue, or we can start discussing about this part a little bit?
I think I would like in particular to ask our working group members. Of course, everybody can contribute to the policies because we don't have maybe not every country represented, although we have a lot of members, but it might be interesting maybe to ask first among the workgroup 3 members, in particular the new ones who haven't been in Haifa and so on, whether they could still contribute to the policies, because so maybe thinking about some of the countries that were missing, maybe you can show the slide again with the countries we have, and then we can think about the countries that are missing, because I think it would be really nice to have some more input. Of course, yeah, maybe if you can share that slide again, then we can see which country. I mean, of course, there were 9 and we are 30. How many countries are we? 32 in the COST Action.
Well, 33, I guess.
Yeah.
I think we are 34. 32 members, 32 COST members with the ITCs. 1 cooperative is Israel, and the international partner who is Iran.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, 34. So that means now we have 9. Let's say if we would at least reach 50% related to policies, that would be 17 countries. So we have still 8 countries missing. I mean, is there anybody who can raise the hand and say, well, we have France. I'm just looking at Ahmed. Israel would be interesting. Well, Moldova, I don't know the policies of Moldova. I just look at Olga, but Olga is all alone from her country. Netherlands, I can look at myself, because I'm representing the Netherlands. For sure we will contribute from the Netherlands. I think that is no question. Now we have some samples, which is very good, I think. Yeah, is there anybody, what is about Latvia maybe and Estonia, thinking about, although we have a lot of ITC countries already.
Yeah,
which is good. Yeah. Sadra?
Yeah, may I say, thank you very much, Muge. Actually, I started this process with, due to so many responsibilities, I couldn't catch all this timeline for preparing of this work. And I would like to say that it was very, very interesting personally for me, because in Latvia we didn't done such research before, and it means that I should go through archive documents, which is open during this.
Yes, they are all open, and you can find all of them in our private area.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting, and actually, yes, I promise that I will finish, because I did a lot of interesting investigations personally for me as well. I almost filled such form, but I think, oh, it's so late. I'm sorry, and so.
Yeah.
No problem, no problem. We are progressing at the moment. I don't think that there is nothing to say. I mean, in terms of sorry, we can. We'd like to invite all our group members to. To put a little bit effort to prepare these templates, because but further we have to go further, and we have to produce the templates like working group 1 proposed, and we discussed today how we can really map these policies according to historic periods. I mean, we just a little bit discussed with Anna. She said that they didn't think of considering the policies within a temporal perspective, but the case studies that were shown or in the working group 2 meeting, we were shown as very different middle class examples, cases, and it's quite meaningful, these cases within their own historic period, why they were like this, why they were proposed in this way, why they were formed in this way, are related to the problems the era's condition, economic, social, political economic conditions, or even sometimes government's ideology and the way that the government maybe rule the country. These are all related to such kind of larger context within which maybe we should consider. So that's why we propose to look at this temporal perspective, but if you know, we wanted to first of all discuss this issue because if you want to make some meaning of the middle class mass housing from the past, this kind of perspective is important. But if we just want to focus on the contemporary or post something period, then you know, we can only focus on that period. But to me, this historic perspective is meaningful and important. That's why I just wanted to, you know, ask all of you to raise your own opinion.
May I ask a short question?
Sure. Yes.
Working with this template, it was very interesting, and it's so clearly understand that as you said, such political context is one of driving force for housing policy. And are we going to make some, I don't know, wider explanation of this political context in Europe through last 100 years or something like that?
Not that much, maybe post-war period. That's kind of deepness way we thought. I don't know, Utoy, what do you think?
Because I think in this regional perspective, an example of Eastern Europe and maybe Southern Europe or other regions, they could find very many similarities, but without explanation of these political events, it's not so understandable, I think.
I mean, that's, first of all, I think it depends on how many examples we can collect. And then we can, again, we heard from about the visual analysis. So we can also really see, if we work with the template where we map the dates, we can for sure see, are there similarities maybe between certain countries next to comparing the policies themselves. I think what is missing, and that's what I said in working group 1 and in working group, no, in 2, I didn't say, in working group 1, that we should also look out for the research that is already there. So at the moment, we really started from like what we are doing and what we are researching, but of course there is also research around with the European Housing Research Network. I also think that Melinda and her institute in Budapest, they have a lot of research. Sandra, you have a lot of research, mainly for your country. So I still think we have to do a wider look to the state of the art in certain countries, which we try, of course, to map with the bibliography that we are doing. But we also have to see if there are some maybe already comparative publications from some countries in the European context. And so far, I haven't seen, we haven't looked also in detail into the literature that was mentioned. I think it would be interesting, at least regarding the title, European Middle Class Mass Housing. I think to a certain amount we should do that, at least if we can already distinguish finally the middle class and the mass housing and define it. So I really would like to do a workshop on that. And also looking into what are already existing definitions, because I think that is something that we need to do before we can also have further conclusions from the material we collect. Right. That's my opinion, I think. Maren wanted to say.
wants to say something.
Maren
and
can't
also,
raise her.
Sorry,
Yes,
this raised hand thing doesn't seem to exist in my version of Zoom. I was kind of confused because I think Ahmed, no, Marcel sent round the German one, right? And I looked at that, and then I was getting really confused because in Germany you have the federal law, and then you have the state law, and then you have programs that are on the level of individual municipalities. And I was kind of wondering what kind of policies do we collect, and how can we keep track of that, because it's going to be vast if we going to collect all the policies that somehow affect how housing, how mass housing or middle class mass housing is being financed and has been financed in the past. And that for me was a question where I kind of just thought that perhaps it's undoable. So I wonder what people think about these different levels of legislation.
I'm not sure if it is the same in every country. I'm not sure what so far the policies.
I do know, maybe one last thing, I do know Britain quite well, and they have similar, they don't have the state level so much, but then they have the different nations which have different ways of dealing with housing, and also individual municipalities, I think, can do individual programs.
And we collected the laws, bylaws, and regulations, actually. We didn't collect programs, you know, we just collected the laws, bylaws, and regulations. That's it. And all of them, for example, in Turkey, they are national. There is no regional-based laws. Or federal, we don't have a federal state structure in our country. But it might be difficult for the countries who are ruled in federal state system. You might be right.
I think there is no definite answer to that, Maren. I mean, I think we could do if, for example, in the case of Germany, we could make an example. You know, for example, you know very well the Frankfurt area, so it could be something that it is rather than a specific case study related maybe to some states or countries. In federal states in Germany, and that may apply as well for some of the other states, as Müge said. Yeah, and then we have to see. I think maybe that's something we should discuss in another work group meeting in more detail, how to deal with also looking at the results that were put forward. I think Anna wanted to say something, and you also just wrote that I think Rachel, but I think Rachel raises her hand all the time. I'm not sure if she, because from the beginning, so I think it's still the first hand raised. From Rachel.
But the host can unraise the hand. Who's the host now? Anna, you can unraise Rachel's hand. Yes.
Yes.
I don't know. Sorry, apologies.
No problem. So, I mean, we will do another call, and I hope we will collect some other 9 or 8 policies, so to make at least 50% of our action. I'm quite sure we will achieve that, and then continue in further evaluating it. I think we had another topic which was also presented in the other working groups. So some of you have seen it. It was about the case study template from working group 1. And I had asked Müge to present. I think in the other groups it was always not Anna, Alessandra presenting. Not sure, maybe everybody has seen it, then we can just skip this topic. If all of you have seen already 2 or 3 presentations, we don't have to repeat it.
Yeah, Alexandra is here actually. I don't know if she would like to make another presentation.
Alexandra, no, but I was not, I think, supposed to present here, according to
but if you want,
and also you already heard probably, so only if you need me, you tell me, otherwise okay. I am mute.
I think it would be important to hear the opinion of the working group 3 related to the template and how they interpret the fields that are related to this subject. I would also would like to add that in the Portugal case we are trying to contribute here, but we didn't. Were able to do it because our research is not so updated in terms of policies, in terms of architecture perspective, more in terms of social science perspective. But we will do it. We have it on our agenda. We will do it because we think our case can be also interesting because it's a dictatorship and then a democratic period, and then we get inside Europe. So we have all these different periods, which is rather different from the socialist, the former socialist countries bloc. Our situation was rather different because it was our other political ideology, and so also our democratic approach, it's also different. I'm sure. So we will try it to do it. We are a little late on this, but we will do it.
Okay, thank you. So that's good to know. I don't know, Müge, you have been discussing the template, so maybe it's good that you just share your thoughts and what you have discussed.
Yes, Müge, I'm also here, so if you need something, but I think you are the best person to do it.
Thank you very much for trusting me. Of course, I cannot explain that well as Alexandra explained us, but I will try my best. Please support me whenever I couldn't, explain the parts. Sorry, I am. Yes, coming closer. Okay, so this is the template of the new case study. New template of the case study. I try to, explain this this template by dividing it into different parts, but I realized that actually, some parts are a little bit confused. I mean, I just realized that when Alexandra explained it, for our groups who they haven't heard of this this template, I'd like to inform you that working group 1 would like all of us to contribute to this this template, and in this way we will contribute to the middle class mass housing atlas through our cases. So everyone is invited to produce one or work on one case study based on this template. This is still developing, so some parts are subject to change, maybe some develop. On the template, you will see 4 major parts. 3 parts belong to working groups, and the last part is about some of the issues that is going to further information, like folders, like we have to think of like folders. But each part has got different colors. The representation of each working group's part here presented with different colors. For example, for working group 1, we see these blue lines. For the working group 2, we see yellow lines, and working group 3, we see the red line boxes. And in the first part, which I would like to start with working group 1's part, let's say, we are expect to present our case study. And in this part, we first of all have to represent the case study through within its context. Let me say, whether it is a kind of, it has a historical or geographical or urban or landscape or design oriented issue that has its character. I mean, why we selected this case has to be explained here. That's kind of, explanation should be the right explanation. And in this part, you are supposed to give the keywords to explain your selected case. You're supposed to give geographical location through the Google map, its address, and also some you're supposed to provide some photos which will be its visual ID. So it will be a representative photo which give the case a sense about the case. And you are supposed to give some information like the architecture office which developed this case, or the author or collaborators, the stakeholders which are critical in the design of this case, and construction firm, landscape designer. These are the important stakeholder information that we have to give. Also, we need to give information about the time of designing, constructing, and integration of the case. And the scale is another issue that we have to give as an information, whether it's a district level development, or as a building type of development, or larger scale development. We need to specify and explain in this part. Under the heading urban area that you see on the right hand side on the screen, we're expected to provide some information about the case study site in terms of its relation within the city. This is what I understand. In terms of urban space, in terms of typology, dwelling type, and the environment, the quality of living environment which has. So here we are supposed to give information about the total area of the case study area, the percentage of the area occupied by the housing development, is some of the services like schools, markets, shops, kindergarten, health, sport, and religious facilities, and other facilities which are provided within the site or close to its close proximity, its connectivity and accessibility. Capacity of the case study site is also important by vehicular or pedestrians and cyclists. Its connectivity and accessibility to public transport is another important issue, recreational sites, all these issues which will show the quality of life issues actually. And the landscape design features is another issue that we need to describe in our case study, whether it improves the quality of life, quality of space. We are expected to provide this descriptive evaluation about the landscape design quality. And also we are expected to evaluate the aspects like how much it creates a sense of belonging, flexibility, diversity, legibility, and things like this. And the next slide, on the blue part that you see still belongs to the working group 1 part. So under this heading residential area, we are expected to provide information about the architectural feature of the case study, like number of buildings, number of floors, a spatial organization of the interior outdoor places, and also some information about the indoor layout, the flat layout of this case study area, construction material, and we are supposed to give some information about the building typology, as you can see, whether it's a detached or semi-detached house, the towers or row houses. You know, we need to specify all these, and the issues that improve living condition of the inhabitants. I hope I can do well so far, Alexandra and Ines. And I'm just passing the second part, which is related to working group 2. Two's part, and in this part that you can see this with which is shown with yellow colors. Under this heading, we're expected to provide information about whether this case site is lived resided by original dwellers, or they were different. There was a transformation which was passed or not. I mean, this is one thing that we need to explain. Yeah, I mean, original dwellers were middle class or other type of class, and current, we need to differentiate these two. And also whether the occupants are owners or tenants. This is another issue that we should provide, and further information about the parameters which show and describe the income group of the residents. This might depend on the case study. So in this way, we are expected to define some parameters for our own case study, to define a middle class. Actually, what kind of parameters can define middle class in our case. And under the heading of mass housing, we are expected to provide information about the process of massification and the forms of massification. This is very important, and this was underlined a lot by Alexandra, how the site was developed, whether it was planned or unplanned, and the form of development, vertical growth or horizontal growth, and some descriptive information about how the case study site has become a mass housing site. Was it through the massification and repetition of certain forms, certain types? So this is another very critical issue that we are expected to answer. As for the part related to public policies that you can see on this slide, we are expected to provide again information about the urban and housing promotion or maybe provision types, whether the case study site is provided by public or private agents or public-private partnership, and the public policy program, whether it is applied to the case, what kind of public policy program was applied to the case study site, and the development decision was taken as a top-down approach or bottom-up approach, and they identified two different policies. One is conservation and the other one is transformation policy. So we are expected to give again information how the case study site was conserved or transformed, what intervention were made to conserve or transform the site, the scale of intervention, whether it is the intervention was was at a neighborhood level, or architectural level, or landscape level, or community level. And the last part, which you can see on the right-hand side, this column that you can see visual info, is directly links. We should envisage it all these blue buttons, or this round button, I'd say green one, Atlas. It's written Atlas on it. This links to this is what I understood, links to connect the folders where there will be information. What kind of information? Bibliographic information, for example. What kind of information? Archive sources, images about the site, redrawings like maps, layout plans, GIS data, interviews, for example, videos, energy issues, or some more middle-class mass housing policy issues. So in this way, they are suggesting a kind of qualitative catalog, which can be formed in this way. This is it. Actually, I could, tell you. I hope I could explain well. Thank you.
It was perfect, Mook. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And I was just mentioning it's 6 o'clock now, and we are supposed to continue at 6:15 with another roundtable. So I would like to propose that we will do a break for sure. And in that sense, I would rather, limit the questions, although Alessandra wants to say something. So I guess since she's responsible was presenting that, so please go ahead. But just to mention that we should make a break, otherwise we still have another hour to. Thank you, Müge and Alessandra.
Yes, I will do super quickly because I really don't want to keep. I think we can probably, Ines and Anna, tomorrow probably find a way to not discuss about all this. I think the goal was not so much to give you lots of heavy work. Everyone is welcome to participate, to do more case study and so on. But I think what is the request specifically to the group 3 is to reread what is on the template and see specifically on the parts that are related to the part 3, the red parts, if you think that they are clear, they clearly talk about the topics that you are dealing with, or if there are certain issues that are not inside the case studies. Basically, the case study should be done by authors, and generally is more the group 1 that makes the catalog. But of course, what we wanted to show is that in reality, those case studies are of everyone. It is about the whole group. So we need a back and forth process. If the group 3 think that the case studies are there, actually talk and visualize conditions, situation, which are not within, that don't talk about the issues that you covered, of course there is a gap. And we need to fill this gap and solve the issue. So we have to work together. I think this is mainly, and then we can discuss tomorrow how to do that. And yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Alessandra. And I think we still also have some time in the roundtable reserved to the topic. Yeah. So we can even continue. So I would propose to make a break now, 15 minutes. 14, 13, what time is it? 2 minutes after?
No, I will propose that we will start in 13 minutes. So for starting on time
minutes,
on
yes.
our...
Okay.
Yes.
Is it the same link?
We can debate. Yes, it's the same link. Yes, it's the same link. So we'll stay at the same link. And on our roundtable, which will be led by our 3 working groups leaders, we will continue to this debate, and we will introduce also the others. So see you in 13 minutes.
Okay. So we'll start 6:30, is that?
No, not 6:30.
15.
In 12
15.
minutes. In 12 minutes now.
Okay, 15. I thought 30. I thought it was too much, but okay, so
Okay.
perfect. 50 minutes. That's enough.
Okay, so see you a quarter past 6 again. Bye.
Thank you very much. See you.
Thank you.
Just a few moments more, 1 minute, when we will start, because it's our round table. I will just show the program that we had. Well, it's a proposal from the working group 1, I think it could be good for a starting point. But I'm not able to, I'm trying to open our website, but maybe have a lot of people trying to open it and it's a little difficult. But anyway, the idea of this roundtable was in a way to close all these 3 very, very important meetings around the working groups, sorry. I'm just starting to try to open. So the idea was making kind of a closing meeting that could close some of the subjects debated in the working groups. So I will share the program with you, just for the ones who were not in the beginning with us. Since the beginning, it's a long journey. Sorry. So sorry. It's not what I wanted to do. It's a long journey now. We are almost finished the first day. So tomorrow we'll have. So here we are in the last part of the program. So our round table will be shared by the leaders and the vice leaders of the 3 working groups. And one of the ideas was, in a way, to debate a little more about the template, the proposal that we are debating from the beginning of these working sessions, and then also maybe propose a glossary or terms. Maybe I found it could be interesting, and also after the debates and after attending all the sessions of the working group sessions, I think it could be interesting also to propose a glossary or a set of concepts that we could share, or at least we could enunciate in order to specify a little more our own case studies and our own realities. As we understood, it's quite different from country to country, and just all the other issues that we had been debating all day. So I will now ask Inês and Uta and Els to take in charge of the session. I don't know, a round table, it's always something difficult to organize because it's different to give the word to each participant. But we really would like, or the idea that we had, me and Gaia, was that this could be a very open debate among all the members. So just an hour of debate among all the members related with the issues, the doubts, the comments, everything that the members realize that could be interesting to improve the working group's activities and the COST in general. And of course, tomorrow we'll have also in the morning the sessions, but will be parallel sessions. So this will be one of the last opportunities for all the COST members to be together and to debate until the closing session tomorrow in the afternoon, because of course the MC meeting, it's only open to the MC members. Who would like to start, Inês, Uta, or else to start the session?
Inês, working group 1, maybe.
Okay. Yes, I can be the first because we are from the working group 1. I don't know if Costas and Dalit are here. If you are, just talk if you want. So I advance these 2 topics, but as we all have already seen the template, I think I think we can discuss it tomorrow morning in our each working group. But I think the most important idea to pass of the template is what we already done. So which approach from each working group regarding the topics of each group, and also think of what could be the buttons, what could be the links to the private area. So when you click the button, what we will find in the folders of which working group. So I think regarding the template, we still have some points to discuss. And I identify another problem between the 3 working groups. So we have all of us appoint the most of the countries represent.
We can't hear you, Ines.
We can't hear you, Ines.
You lost sound.
Yeah, your microphone is off officially now.
Sorry, and now you can listen
Yes.
now? Yes. Sorry about that. I don't know when it cuts, but I think you have already listened the first part. And the second is that I identify a similar problem in our working group. So we have all the, or almost all the countries represent in the research in each working group, but we don't have the contents of each country. So, and we need that to cross and to have an overlapping of each goals of each working group. So all of us must contribute in this crossing goals of working group, because it's important. What I feel it's the most important to cover the most range of countries that we are represent. Besides this, regarding on mapping or references or public policy. So we, all of us must do an effort to try to cover the best areas of all the countries that are represented in our action. And for the in the same sense, I think we have the gap of the descriptions, the terms that some we are still looking for, but maybe the glossary could be a good idea for each, for the 3 working groups, so we can explain our rules or our descriptions regarding what we are doing. So it's more or less what I have to say. And please, I think the most important now, because we, the leaders, have already did the presentations, I think the most important points in this roundtable is listen what the other research have to say. But anyway, I'll pass the word to Els. You are the 2.
Can I say something on this?
Yes.
Okay. About the template, because I understand that this is an important...
Costas, we are not listening to you.
No?
I can see that you are speaking, but we can listen to you.
I could hear him.
I could hear him too, actually.
Ines, do you hear me or?
We hear you.
Okay, maybe something with Ines's sound. Ines, try to take off your plugs. Okay.
I will write to Ines that we can hear you.
Yeah. Maybe she has to take off her earphones completely.
Our internet is so good now. I think Ines is having some problems.
Okay.
Do you hear me now, Ines?
Yes, it was my problem, sorry.
Okay, okay. So about the template, because this is one of the main themes of discussion. I'm not yet persuaded about how we're going to use this template. I mean, as a template, I think that it is fine as it is. We can make it even better, okay. No doubt about this. But I have two main questions. How this template is related to the Atlas, if it is related somehow. I guess it should be related to the Atlas. And how practically we're going to use this template, because if we think of one template for each project, so we're talking about dozens or hundreds of templates, you cannot really go and browse and go after each template after each template in order to read every template, or in order to, you know, go through the projects. I mean, this does not really make sense, because at the end you will get nothing and you will remember nothing out of all this. So in my opinion, a template can provide the information for the next step, or can provide the layout of a next step. But if we want to be realistic about the template, we have to think how this template is going to be used, either in a website or either in a GIS system, or I don't know, as keywords, as hashtags, as because otherwise, I mean, again, I'm saying that we have to complete all this work with the template that we already do, and to make something finished and fixed. But the next step will be to make something useful out of it, because so far, I mean, nobody is going to go through all these details in each project. And I mean, we have already dozens of areas, A, B, C, working group 1, working group 3, working group 2, in each template. So nobody is going to go through all this. It's impossible, practically. That is actually one of my main concerns I have from the very first start. And because I had a similar experience from the previous COST program I was involved with, where we also worked a lot on templates, and at the end, I mean, nobody used those templates. So yeah, this is one of my concerns, and I have to say this to you.
Okay. Else, do you want to continue from here, or Uta? I don't know.
Okay, okay.
No, else go ahead.
Hello, Uta. I missed, I couldn't follow yours, and I was wondering what you were thinking about the templates and so on. Well, I think during the session, we already said that the template, I think it could work, but there is no one-to-one direction of the people who gave the reference list and the case studies. I showed the ones who we asked all the people choose one working group, and of course, if you are interested, you can join 2 or all the working groups. But to ask them now to join all the working groups, it's a bit tricky, I think. But okay. Anyhow, I think the template, if it comes from the one of the cases, it's not that much. Well, I don't know about the policy for the elements of working group 2 on the template. I think it's quite feasible to ask the people of working group 1 to also comply the other ones. But yeah, I can agree with Kostas that it's important that we do something more with it. And in that sense, what happened in the morning, was it who gave the presentation? Who gave the presentation on, there was somebody who made the study on what are the results, which countries participated, and he showed a lot of maps.
It was Vlato.
Vlato.
And that work is done on the template one, the ones that we showed.
Well, I thought, yeah, I thought that was a good step, and that, but it's, yeah, he said himself as well that it was more quantitative and looking to the geography and so on, that the next step could be more content-wise on the architecture. Or so I think we should now focus maybe more on what do we find in the templates. So in that sense, I agree with it. Yeah, and especially for the cases, I think it's clear to do so. With this, with the bibliography, yeah, I think we should try to complete and to have more countries into it. I think it could be, and I think that would work if we had at the end a book, and you can for all the countries find key texts to study housing in these countries. I think that is a big, yeah, plus added value. And then it's maybe less important that there is one bibliography, but it's important that if people want to know about a certain country about housing, I think that would be a big added value to have that. So in that sense, I would like to plead to say, let the other countries also, but maybe less detailed, the ones who are now submitted, they really searched for a lot of references. Maybe it can be a bit more basic for some countries, but that at least there are some key publications for people who want to study housing in these countries. And about the numbers, I think I should ask Jenkel to add more. I think he can make more analysis of that.
Yes, I will not, thank you, Els. I will not analyze this for the moment here, but we have sufficient data to do that now, but we wait for Italy, for example, and other countries. But in fact, I want to go back to the question of template and the question of atlas. When you do an atlas, it seems to me that it should be complete, and we should have exhaustive data. And we know that it's very difficult to have exhaustive data, complete data for all the countries. But I think that what we discussed about that this afternoon, we can have a typology of different situation between mass housing and middle classes, and with different middle classes and different mass housing and different link and relationship between the both. And I think it would be with the case studies a methodology to find, and we can address the different typology of relationship between mass housing and middle classes, and after we can examine this in the different countries. And I think that kind of things will be useful not only for comparison, but also to find the models, because mass housing have a strong link with middle classes. It was like Cooper said, it was a social project. So I think that we can discover something new with that.
I think anyhow in the template there should be then a link with the images of middle class and middle class mass housing to make it clear. That should be one of the links.
Of course, also with the pictures can be a very good tools to speak about and to develop the case study. What you think, Ines, about?
Yes, I think it's exactly that idea. The links in the bottoms is exactly for that. For instance, we are just doing a case in Belgium, for example, And
Yeah.
you found, and you know that there are a lot of more projects. They are similar or they are opposites. I don't know what you want to show, but the links is exactly for that. So you can show, you can go into a folder that you can see the photos and looking what you are looking for. And the same as well to the working group 3, Uta. For instance, I saw that you had already some countries, 7 or 9, I can remember, that you have already the police for sure, or with luck, because studies has already the link to the public policy. So it's just connecting. I think it's more about communication. Look more further the contents that will be very difficult or no. I'm just want to add that of course the template has a lot of and regarding the visual forms that we are including interviews. We can include also surveys if they are research that are working on, so and so on. But of course, we don't have, I think we can have the goal to finish and complete the template, but it's not that the main reason. The proposite of the template, and answer to Costas also, is to getting the information. It was the way that we found to getting the information. After, if you, and first, of course, from here, we export the data to insert in the GIS. Here in the template has the most important information to develop the GIS on MCMH. So they are linked for sure, that strength. After, if we have a good template, if you want to have a publication, for example, with this, of course, I think we can think about. But first, let's see what happened with this second call. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah. Else, anything to add from your side? Otherwise,
no, I give the floor to working group 3 to you, Uta.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think, I mean, we are all a big group of a lot of smart people. So I think we will be able to draw some conclusions from what we gathered. And it's like in every research project. And we are, as we heard from the analysis in the poster book, we are, I don't know, 80% academics. So we are used also to develop a research methodology. And I think the question is rather, of course, like in every project, how to proceed, what kind of data can we get, how can we evaluate them, and what do we want? So what I think is that maybe we have to have a closer look now after the template was modified. I have to say, I have not yet had much time to look into it in the new version. So I must say, maybe it would be nice to, we saw, of course, now the design and everything, but you only start to really understand a template when you start working with it. I mean, that is at least my experience. Then you feel, no, I can't not fill in this, or there is something missing. And you have now gathered a lot of examples, so I guess that has already happened. But still, it might be possible that for some countries or for some cases we cannot get all the data. So in the end, we have to decide what are we going to evaluate and what can we evaluate from the data, a little bit as we work with the poster book. But I think in generally we will be able to do that. The biggest problem I see, and that is a little bit I think the design of the cost actions. They don't pay anybody for the research. And I think the biggest problem is our time. And that means that we have to be very clever in thinking about how do we use the little time we have, or how do we use the little money we can dedicate to research, which are actually the STSMs, which cannot take place at the moment. But what I learned from my last cost actions is that when we manage to be clever and to really dedicate our STSMs to some of the tasks we want to do by, I mean, I already proposed that if we could not dedicate some of the work that Ahmed, Luisa and Olga did, rededicate it as part of an SDSM work, because I think you are all eligible for, would be all eligible for that. And now we have this problem that it's not clear if there are digital SDSMs. But I still think that this could be something where the 3 working groups or in the core group meeting, or we should think about what can we do and who can do it, because I think time is the bigger problem. And the next thing is, of course, and that is linked to the content and to the time, is the question, how would we like to represent our atlas? I mean, is it like, you know, a book where we have the case studies more or less in the template? Or is it something that is more interactive, like also Alessandra proposed it by getting a kind of rather virtual and digital interactive representation of the data? Then it might be something where we still have to invest more time, or where we have to connect with other groups that have more experience, which you proposed. So I think that is another decision to take, or to see if there is somebody within our group who could do it, maybe an STSM, because what I learned is that a lot of our younger students are very well aware of a lot of tools that we have never seen and used ourselves. I speak about me and my age, but I'm sure there are a lot of young students, so that could also be something we could do in a training school, for example. So I think that we have to be creative. And of course, we maybe have also to limit ourselves to what is feasible. Yeah. But in that sense, I'm not so critical about the case studies and the atlas and so on. I would rather, and I think we can also contribute with the policies, although Maren has brought forward an issue like, where do we look at? Is it national policies, maybe local policies? Still something to figure out in Working Group 3. And what I see, and where I would like to put some emphasis, is that I still think we should, we now approach by collecting the things we can contribute, but what I miss is a little bit more like defining what is the state of the art. And in terms of, I mean, what is there in literature about mass housing? What are current definitions? So I would be very much in favor of coming up with a glossary of current definitions on mass housing, on middle class, and maybe on some other terminologies that we have on what is a policy and what kind of policy we have. And of course, then we could benchmark our results against the current definitions. At the moment, I feel a little bit we are in a universe like, or in a black hole, I don't know what. So everything is possible, and I think it is more helpful. It's like, if you know some boundaries or definitions you can work against, or you can collaborate with, it's sometimes easier than completely starting from scratch. And I'm sure that there are definitions. So I'm in favor of doing a kind of glossary, at least for the key terms we have, and doing this by literature research, of course, the classical way. Do a literature analysis. Could be another STSM, actually. Could be a nice thing to do. It could be a paper we do jointly between the working groups. And then the other thing is to connect, as I proposed, and that was a proposal for Working Group 3, to do a workshop where we invite partners from other research groups, like the European Research Housing Network, like, I forgot the other names that were mentioned, like inviting people from the European Union, invite, the different centers we have here, like the one in Paris where Jankel and Ahmed are based, the one we have in Budapest, and so on.
So
yeah, that's...
So if I understood well, do you think that our next target could be to define the state of the art in more precise way, and to start to specify more key words, concepts, and in a way, do you think we should, for instance, launch a special issue on the subject? Or you think we could start by a kind of a workshop. I know that Gaia has this idea of having a major, of course, again, a major meeting in Milan in October. Do you think we could, for instance, have a goal until then to have some session or some working group more dedicated to this idea of defining the state of the art in a more precise way? Do you think a kind of a working task or?
As I understand, Uta, she proposed that we launch STSM actions, one for the glossary and one for the template to make it more interactive because of the time. And I think that is a very good idea, actually. And another question came up with me, how you have the current templates of working group 1. How many changes can everything of that template be inserted in the new template, or is there a lot of extra work to convert them? That is something I was wondering.
I want to highlight that what the description of Atlas that we have in our MOOC is an interactive platform. So I think the idea of the books, we can think it in different ways, but not to the Atlas. The idea of the Atlas is built interactive platform where the contents are feeling. I don't know exactly how, but I think the GIS can help, as far as I could understand, can help us to insert the data and after to cross the goals and the perimeters that we had already inserted them. Regarding your question, Els, I think it's not asking, I thought about that, but I think we have already 48 case studies. So I have to ask friendly and kindly the best I can. I think it's not too much copy-paste the information that we have already posted in the first template. But that is something, that feedback, it's important to us to know how to proceed, as Uta said, because I think it's the most goal of this roundtable, and for us is how to proceed in the different goals. I have just want to add regarding the STSMs that I think it's a very important networking tool. And but the most important thing is how it's possible to do it now in these current conditions. So we thought, and it was Uta in the core meeting, and I think it's a great idea, propose to COST Association virtual STSMs. For now, it's not possible by the rules, but we have the power, because we have to have that, to pressure Brussels. It's my opinion. So we have, between all of us, have an ideas to make possible the networking tools that we have in our hands. I don't know if I help.
Now the scientific term short missions are scientific term of short missions are completely cancelled. But we did not ask Brussels yet, because we have a problem of budget that we will explain you tomorrow. So now we cannot do anything. We have to ask for our institution to lower us, we may say like this, the money before, and then we will try to use well, it's a complicated thing that I will try to explain tomorrow. But what I'm saying that now it's completely impossible to do this kind of missions. And even when we received the new recommendations by Brussels, they didn't add nothing related to the short-term scientific missions, only to ETC conference grants that they allowed us to spend money on the conference itself and not on traveling. So it is something that we are going to debate tomorrow also. So now we are able to use the money for pay the conference load and not the the traveling expenses. But it's now we have in a difficult situation. But I think if I understood well, maybe I didn't, but if I understood well, I think maybe we could have this direction now to have our main target for the next 6 months to deep a little more the state of the art. Try to do it. I don't know how, but try to ask our members to give their contributions for that, and try to have a little more defined or more framed concepts for the next meeting. Do you think that could be possible or not? That's my answer, my question.
Maybe just to add, I mean, we could try to do something like a collaborative document, you know, I mean, like we do when we write a research proposal. I mean, we have a Google Docs and we could ask everybody to come up with definitions from literature. I mean, even if there is not a middle class mass housing, then there maybe is a social housing, there is a luxurious housing, there is, I mean, there are other definitions, but I know, sorry, Gaia, I didn't see you had raised your hand, but
please conclude.
Yes, I just, because I know you have worked on that, so I'm sure there are also definitions, at least in some countries, with some of our researchers that have, and otherwise we can benchmark it against other definitions and say this is where social housing stops and where, you know, luxurious, high class, I don't know what, upper class housing starts. And we come, in the end, it was I just see that we have the same discussions we had a year and a half ago in Haifa. What is middle class? And
we had it 5 years ago in Milan. And when we were in Milano, the first conference that Gaia gave, I remember people from all over the world, from Brazil, from I don't know wherever. And the conclusion was there is no middle class definition. We talked about low middle class, high middle class, and middle class, and everybody. There were economic terms, there were architectural terms, and there were from urbanism. There were from so the conclusion was that there was no definition. That's what I had in mind after that conference.
But through this project, we made it even more complex because now we are asking also what is mass housing.
Yes, and now we have a second term, mass housing.
But I mean, then it could be a conclusion to come up that there is not a single or even no definition of middle class, and then there is the other let's say, estimation that the middle class is disappearing everywhere in the world, and that we are going, you know, to have more, so that it is getting smaller. But I think it is something we can document, and we may even document it over time, and I think that is at least what we should do by having our COST action entitled Middle Class Mass Housing, to at least try to approach a definition.
And also just before Gaia, just say something before Gaia, because then Gaia will
take a long time.
No, I just say that maybe we could have this, Gaia, what do you think? Maybe we could have this idea of having something to present in Milan, because it's from 6 months now, more or less. And maybe we could, you know, think of something to present in Milan has an answer to this challenge that Uta addresses.
Okay, we can of course discuss it. We had not considered yet, because the idea, as I said this morning, was to have the Milan meeting in presence or at least in hybrid mode. So if we can confirm this in October, it's going to be confirmed the meeting. But of course can be an option to devote to the state of the art, not saying historiography, but really to the state of the art, the part of the meeting. I wanted to say two things, and one is also a proposal, because I totally agree with what has been said before, that in the 3 working groups, what it's crucial to provide a very relevant contribution at the end of our project, it's to have a complete panorama. So if some countries, some national contexts are missing, the final outcome, it's really a little bit altered. So it's not reflecting, in fact, and it's really difficult to create even a comparison. I just bring the case of the Italian group. We were enthusiasts proposing 12 cases for the first working group. Maybe we have to reduce for the final outcome the selection in order to have a balance within different countries. And same things, I think we are not contributing now to the second working group, while maybe for the methodology and historiography can be, France, it's not represented in the through cases. So I think maybe we can take some more time just giving a small extension to give the possibility to the different national groups to add some, because I think it would be really crucial to have this photography, not with certain imbalances and incoherences in the final map. And the second is about what Uta was saying about the state of the art, because this morning when we had the meeting of the working group and Vlatko showed the graphs that I think it's a very, very, very helpful synthesis of the work done, it emerged that there is still a kind of disagreement in the use of terminology, in the idea of scale. So which scale are we looking at in the chronology? So some parameters that maybe can be now defined and framed, even if we have to eliminate some cases. And same things in the, I think, I don't know, Els and the uncle, if you agree, in the working group too, the discussion about mass housing for me was impressive. The contribution by Veneta when she said that for her, of course, mass housing is a very homogeneous built environment that corresponds to one unique project. While Alessandra showed how in Italy, and I agree this position, it's really fragmented, it's a massive phenomena, but through fragmented intervention. So I totally agree with the uncle that even in each country we had different situations, but my question is, do we want to do something that is relevant for the country, or through this kind of homogenization, so looking only at one type, we are looking also at marginal, okay? Because in Italy, this idea of mass housing, it's really marginal, while there are other situations that can tell something about the specificity of the countries. So which would be our final outcome? I think that it's important that each country tells something that is really representative of the specificity or diverse situation, as the uncle was saying, that put in relation middle class and mass housing, but that tells something about the DNA, I would say, of the specific country. Because if not, the risk is to, I don't know, how homogenize the discourse. Sorry, it was just a, so maybe we can take a few more, one more to 2 more months to try to complete this map.
Yeah, maybe there should in the template be like, how would I say, like middle class and then middle class mass housing, how much that percentages are there. So that, you know, is middle class mass housing the majority or not? And I think with the parameters that are given, it's quite clear then what people mean with mass housing, although that can differ too. But at least you know then if it is marginal or not in that country.
In the country, yes, because
yes.
there are differences that are substantial from.
Yes, yes.
May I add something?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay. I totally agree with this. I think that we should definitely be more open in our definitions and in our representations of what does mass housing mean. And in the case of Greece, this is very clear as well, because the typical middle-class mass housing in terms of blocks and something that is designed by the state or the capital in a large scale, all at once as a project, etc., is now more than 2% or 3% of what middle-class mass housing is. So we should definitely be more open. In any case, if I remember, or better, if I am to recall this morning's keynote talk, which was really interesting, I think we should focus more on middle class than mass housing. So I think it is an opportunity for us to discuss middle class and how mass housing in different countries and different context and different traditions and different political establishments, etc., etc., is related to the middle class. And because I think that middle class is something much more important than mass housing. So mass housing nowadays maybe is not relevant anymore in the way it used to be in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, but middle class is really important. And I think that the threat to the middle class, it's much bigger than any architectural tradition or any architectural style or any representation in aesthetic terms as we heard in this morning. So I think that we should be more open. We do not really need this kind of aestheticization that we will see, 100 different projects with buildings that look similar, or with neighborhoods that look similar and with similar photographs and similar, environments. We need to really shake again up this discussion on the middle class and how architecture and urban design is connected to this middle class. And since we have this very broad, actually, range in terms of time. So we start from the 50s or late 40s, and we end up to these days nowadays. We really go through very different contexts and very different, not just in terms of time and in countries, in terms of how things change in a specific country, but we're in a totally different condition in comparison to what we used to be in the 50s and the 60s. So to sum up, I think that we should consider different definitions of middle class mass housing. And I think that we can be more open in relation to this.
Okay, maybe we can listen to Raquel now and Danielle, who raised their hands.
Yes, the two Israelis. Okay. Hi, Anna. I want to commend the actual COST action. This is my first opportunity to do that. It's brilliant. My work is always cross-national, and it's absolutely brilliant because first of all, the EU never has a call for housing per se. It's always some kind of either cooperative or upgrading of energy conservation. Well, housing is such a massive element in our lives, in our properties, in our cities. So it's brilliant that you took on the mainstream part of housing and of society. Not the sex appeal, not the margins, but the big polars. Okay, so that's okay. Now regarding a definition of mass and middle income, I introduced myself before, and let me repeat that my specialization is urban planning and law, and that also includes property rights and tenure. Middle class and housing are not always separate categories. There is a circular relationship. In other words, if you are a post-socialist family that happens to have had very bad housing from communist times, and I saw it in real time, or in East Berlin, and then you are in Berlin, you have become rich, even though your lifestyle may have not changed for some time. So property ownership is an asset, but also it can be maneuvered into mortgages as soft money. So so a house is not just a box, it is a very important, and statistically worldwide, it is the most important, something like 90% of households in the world, their main asset might be a tent, but it is still their main asset. So therefore, tenure rights matter here a lot. If it's just really social housing, rental social housing, it's different from condominium social housing, and it's different from cooperative social housing, and of course it's different from ownership social housing, and value depends on location. So the categories are not separate. And in your classification of categories, there is no tenure category. I do intend to bring it in, but I want to point out that you don't have it at all. So tenure and value, which are connected, are not there. That's my comment.
Thank you, Raquel. And now maybe Yael could add.
Two separate vowels.
Very difficult to pronounce.
A biblical name.
Yeah, French people often can pronounce it somehow. So thank you, Raquel. I think I fully agree with everything you said. The interconnectedness between mass housing, let's say, when we talk about mass housing, we essentially talk about housing for the vast majority of the population, right? Rather than about the number of units or about the aesthetics of it. And so the middle class and mass housing, I agree with you completely, are very much tied together as a problem. And then as we try to study it, yes, we need to understand what middle class means, what housing means, etc. But the two are really inseparable. So in order to, I really think that the template is brilliant. I thought it was really well done. I would like to perhaps add another categorization that may be helpful for us in order to understand what do we mean when we talk about the middle class, and this involves the relationship between the type of work associations and the construction of a specific project or estate or set of buildings. Because class is very much related with worker organizations, even contemporarily in the open market, all kinds of funding mechanisms, etc. If we could have some rubric that could very, very shortly introduce this data, if we have it, I think this could gradually produce an accumulative data regarding what is it that we really mean about class and work-related communities within each country and overall in Europe.
Okay, thank you, Yael. And now maybe our leaders again, if we are almost on our time, but I would like our leaders, Els or Ruth.
Filippo raised his hand.
Can you hear me?
And go, Philip.
Okay. You can hear me? Yeah. Can I just add one very short comment? I don't want to take much time for that, but I just wanted to, it is something that has popped up here and there over the course of the day, and I wanted to bring it back because I think it's important. I think that the work on the template has been wonderful. I mean, it really looks like a way to connect the three working groups together, but I have the impression we still have a problem with integrating time into our descriptions. The way in which you describe the case studies and also the policies does not really integrate change at the moment. This is probably understandable because this was initially a sort of space-based project. We divided Europe into nations and the nations into cities and case studies, etc. But we really have a strong difficulty in giving descriptions in which change and the passing of time is relevant. It is still very ambiguous whether we are describing housing complexes at the time when they were designed or built, or today, which is a totally different thing. The template asks us a number of questions which can have different answers depending on the moment in which we observe our housing complexes. A housing complex can be private or can be public in different moments of its history. Its social connotation can be different in different moments of time. The very words, we were talking about the glossary, the very words through which a housing complex can be described change over time. So I think we have to find a not too complex but effective way to integrate time into the data we collect. Sometimes this can perhaps be done by observing the same case study into two different moments, for example. Let's say at the moment, at the potential originary moment when the thing was built, and I don't know, today, for example, to see whether some major change has happened. Otherwise, we risk of making comparisons between synchronic descriptions of places, which basically exist in an abstract space, and we risk making comparisons that do not integrate the extent to which certain complexes or certain places change a lot over time, while others stay nearly static, don't really change. And the degree of change and the type of change that these places are invested with is one of the elements of comparison that we must be able to somehow make sense of. Thank you.
If I can, thank you, Filippo. No, it's make a lot of sense. And we talk about this in this morning. It was one of the gaps that we already identified regarding including different situations. We talk about location, what is in the center of the city 40 years ago, maybe it's not, or even today it's suburbia, or if it's suburbia now, today it's already in the center. So this situation that you refer, that how we can describe mapping visually or by answers, the change through the time, because we have that problem in different situations regarding the original users and the current users. So we have to, I think it's very important how we can visualize the change during the time regarding different issues. So I think it's common of all that we have to have time, including us, to look again at the template. We must set a deadline. I don't know if 1 week, 2 weeks, but we should have defined a deadline and looking into the template and to find these questions that will not arise today, that even tomorrow, but we have to find a way to balance the countries and to fit up these questions that are rising during the day. So don't worry if you can do it all today, because it will be impossible, and all of us needs a time to look at and to try to find the best topics on that.
So maybe Uta and Els would like to add something.
Well, for the numbers, we made already a distinction between the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s. One has to indicate which period it is, and nowadays. So there is already a certain possibility of date of 2 times. We had the idea it was about post-war housing, so we didn't focus earlier, and we didn't focus on nowadays. The numbers are nowadays, that we made a relation with nowadays. But I agree that time and space yeah, time is a very important factor because it changes a lot. Social housing that becomes middle class housing, or the opposite. Social housing inhabited by the middle class that now is really social housing. So yeah, we saw examples of that, Janko. I have also of that. But also indeed at the edge of the city and now in the center of the city. Yeah, so I agree. It's
Yes.
it's a relevant
And
remark.
in the statistics, we have also the housing tenures variable. But I think, as Rachel said, it's very useful to have this kind of distinction about housing tenure. And what I wanted to underline is that we can't do a comparison in terms of middle classes. If we know, for example, the income of housing classes in different countries, it will be very contrasted. And I think that the question is that middle class is a relative concept, and in fact, is a relative concept between the working classes and the upper higher classes. And I think it's in the middle, but I think it's a middle and relative middle, and we have to manage with that, with this kind of middle, and the middle is the goal for a lot of social policies and housing policies, and it's the way. But we can't. We just have to compare relative positions about what we call middle class, and the middle classes are different in the different countries.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just want to comment from point of view of consumer. Everyone is a consumer of energy. So if the energy of the building is not good, you can't be middle class. You will pay your bills. At the end, everyone pays bills for the energy to have upper class, if we can discuss it in that term. So I don't know, I was listening the whole time, but if you are middle class, you are obligated to have how can I say, good thermal environment around you. So this template was in that sense created to see and to gather information about what was happening with this building around 50 years, and all that information integrated in this area. How can I say? So I just want to point this thing. That's my point of view, because middle class could not live in the buildings that are very poor in thermal environment. That's my point of view, because if you live in a building that is not up your standards, you will have really high bills to pay, and you will never be middle class. So it's connected. I just want you to emphasize this point of view. So if you just can think about and give your opinion about that. That's my point of view. Thank you.
Gaia.
Yeah, quickly, just a remark. I think the variable of time, coming back to what Filippo was saying, it's not only related to the connotation, if it's or not a middle class building, because I totally agree with the uncle that it's a relative and sometimes slippery concept, but you can also observe it in a very concrete aspects. The building that started being public and today is private, that had a distribution and today it's totally different. So it's crucial to explicitate in which moment we are looking at this case, because if not, the final outcome will totally alter it. I think this is the point.
If I look to in Belgium in the 60s, there were different organizations. You had the Christian worker class, the Catholic worker class, you had the Farmers Association, Catholic as well. But then you had something what was a very interesting name, Organization of Women in Middle Class and Bourgeoisie. And it had everything together. The shopkeepers were there. Middenstand is the Dutch word, shopkeepers, but also the wives of doctors, advocates, dentists, and so on. And so they clearly didn't know how to address that group. And so they had a journal, and it was Women in the Middle Class and Bourgeoisie. That was the name of the journal. And you clearly could see they addressed the women with more cultural high topics. So only 10% on housekeeping and home decoration, which was 30% or so in the others, and more on culture. So they distinguished themselves, but it was no clear definition. They were always in between the more bourgeois and the more, the shopkeepers who had to run a shop. And it was really, the advice was in between to address those groups. And it stands for me how undefined the term is actually.
Can I say something?
Of course.
Just one moment. Going back to the template, I think that it's absolutely necessary to have to say this is the template and we have to work in this template, because I think the template is the only place where we can put all our information. I was surprised how Blato, with the 50 templates we have, has been able to make conclusions and to make graphics and to say you need more people from Spain or we need more people from France. So I think that tomorrow we have to finish to give tasks to everybody and to ask you need from you that to do, and all the discussions about middle class and mass housing and will be going on, but we have to need a place where to place our information. And if Brussels asks us, what are you doing? We can have a lot of material to say, we have done all this. Okay.
Thank you very much, Teresa, for your contribution. I don't know if you want to add more. We are a little late already. Tomorrow we'll have also a very big day. Maybe not to everybody, but we will expect you to join us. People who are not in the MCM members who join us in the lecture that Monique Leb will give to us. We really think that it could be a very good opportunity in the end to say goodbye and to maybe change some comments and some opinions among us. So if I may, I would close this day. It was a very, very long day already. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock in Europe time. It will be 1 hour before here in Portugal, so 9 o'clock. It will be nice, and in Israel, I think it's 2 hours late. I don't remember anymore. But anyway, so 10 o'clock Europe time, we will start it with our parallel sessions. We will continue this debate in a more closed groups, and more intergroups. And then we will have our core group after lunch meeting. But please, for the MC members, don't forget to join us in the afternoon for our meeting, which is our major meeting. And then in the end, everybody to attend the Monica Lab presentation, and then we can address also some of the. I'm sure Monique can help us a lot related with all these state-of-the-art debates that we are having now. So I don't know, Gaia, do you want to add something? No? So
thank you to all of you for staying until 7:30.
I think it was huge. As I said, my expectation was very low, but we are here, 42 persons attending this last roundtable. Thank you very much from my heart. I'm really very. It was a very, very good session today, all the day long. One more, I would like to thank to our working group leaders and vice leaders for preparing these amazing presentations, for all the works that the members did, trying to gather all this information, the results, the gaps, everything. So now I think we have a much more precise idea how our costs needs and how the dimension of our failures, but also some achievements that we did. I really want to thank to everybody. I think myself and Gaia, we are very happy in our position as shares, because it seems that we don't have to do anything. The cost is growing very well. And so we'll see you tomorrow. And please don't forget to join the meetings, especially the MCM meeting. And do the lecture, of course, also. And so I will say goodbye to everybody. I don't know if you have no more comments. We'll say goodbye and thank you all. We are really very grateful for being with you and for sharing all this day long with you. So
bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.